After over a year of no new weapons, Splatoon 3 finally has third kits, along with a brand new stage. Now that we've had some time to actually try everything out for a bit, I want to talk about the effect it has on the game. Is this really an update that saves Splatoon 3, or is it just a temporary phase? Let's find out, and be sure to subscribe for more. I want to start this off with the stage design, since obviously the kits are going to be the majority of discussion. I've done a whole review on Urchin, which you can check out here, but I think it's pretty clear to most people that the overall rework was good. Even if you weren't a fan of Urchin, it's pretty easy to see that it's been mostly improved and faithful to the original one, which if we compare that to the first few Splatoon 1 stages we got, you could definitely see the leap here. However, I've also thought pretty much since 8.0 that if we are going to get stage changes or new stages, they're still gonna compromise with Splatoon 3's original vision of more limited maps. And unfortunately, I don't think Urchin stops that trend. The main thing I needed to see for that was that block flank that really opens up the stage on tower control and maybe clam blitz. And well, that didn't happen. Now, just to be clear, in future games like Splatoon 4, I could definitely see the map design getting an overhaul. But what I am saying is in this game, they're still gonna have their limitations, even if they're overall way better than launch. However, I don't think Urchin is the only thing to expect news-wise. If you take a look back at the 10.0 trailer, you can actually see there's a new block on the Marlin fan. This isn't in the game right now, but if it was, this block would allow you to jump back to your plat without actually raising the fan. This would be especially helpful in Rainmaker, given the lack of fan before the first checkpoint. This seems like a very solid stage addition that again fits this compromised nature of making things a little bit more fluid, even if still kind of linear. I think it's totally possible we could see more maps. I mean, Urchin can't be there by itself, right? Because of that, I think we could see stage reworks in the future, and I'm almost certain we'll get more maps. They did confirm when the last Salmon Run map was, and they didn't for Lemuria, nor did they say Urchin was the last stage. So I'm willing to bet we'll get another. Hopefully either Reef or Salt Spray Rig returning so that all the Splatoon 1 maps can be in these two games. So besides that is 30 brand new weapon kits, which to be clear are a win for sure. However, from a casual lens here, I don't think there's really a whole lot to add to the discussion. More options are just good, especially with the amount of sub and special combinations we have. So from here, I want a segment to talk about competitive Splatoon 3, as well as a small theory that I think some of these kits were specifically designed with Comp Splatoon in mind. Think of the rest of this video as a follow-up to my competitive Splatoon 3 review from a year ago, talking about specifically the things that changed in this update. Though check it out if you want to see a bunch of other relevant concepts covered. Now, the most obvious complaint and improvement here has to be tacticooler weapons. I think a big thing for a lot of casual viewers is pretty much every comp having a pencil, and despite pencil's nerfs in recent times, that's held true in both scenes. Let's take a look at Sendu Q Season 7. This is the most stacked Western event we've had in like a year or more, and the entire top 4 was filled with pencils, with 10 out of the 12 teams having it as well. Area Cup 35 was the last big tournament in Japan. Definitely a little bit better, but that top 4 is still all pencils. In comp, you'll see an occasional zap or an edit, but that's it. This update felt like it was ready for this problem. The new Rapid and 96 are both great new cooler options, and the new anchor weapons they put in the game tended to have strong kits, with Bow, Charger, and Hydra having what I believe are their strongest kits in this update, and I also felt they were very well designed to what those weapons wanted to do. Weaker kits on anchor weapons is part of this issue after all. If you're gonna run a zap and have your cooler on a short-range weapon, it better be for something that's worth it. That said, I think the biggest addition here is the new Rapid Blaster, and potentially VDAPL working very well with it as a double cooler option. Rapid Blaster has been the most competitive anchor weapon so far with Pencil, and now it directly shares a special with it. On top of that, it seems very clear now that we're going to see a good amount of new compositions built around this weapon's potential for consistent chip damage and more aggressive play. That being said, the lower cooler output does make it a lot harder, possibly more than it's worth. I would really like to see this weapon go to 190 or even 180 in a future update. However, even if that doesn't pan out, another trend we've seen recently is pencil players swapping on short-range maps. Look at the grand finals of Area Cup 36, which took place just a few days after the update. On Urchin Underpass, both teams swapped off their pencil on Urchin, running different ones. This could all even be enhanced further if we get more third kits later down the line, which could of course add more cooler options or more powerful anchors. Safe to say, this is the biggest win of the brand new third kits, and it's really cool to see new theory crafting and options being introduced. Another area where comps might have seemed a bit stale lately is supports. It's nowhere near as big a problem as pencil in the anchor slot, but V-Splash has been the dominant support for the past past few patches now. This update introduces a lot of strong competition for that. Some of the most talked about is the new mini Splatling as a potential high Zuka output option, one that immediately won Area Cup 36 on its release and was also used in the Western scene, placing second in 4v4 Sundays. Another new option is the Dreadringer. Dread has been seen as a powerful main weapon for quite some time now, but with a special that doesn't really fit it. Its insanely high output of such a strong and synergistic special do a lot for it, and it's placed highly in both recent Area Cups because of that. In addition to that, we also saw Splattershot Pro, once again seeing a lot of use in both Area Cups and 4v4 as a potential support option. And since then, this Pro was used by the top 3 teams in the most recent Western Major Super Jump 5, proving that it's already immensely popular and that missiles are still very powerful. Missiles currently doesn't really have a lot of competition in terms of strong main weapons, and Splattershot Pro's increased fighting power and mid-range has given it a lot of potential for a very unique niche. And there's other options that could be good, but it's just a little bit too new to say, like the new Reflux or L3 for instance. So there's clearly a lot here, such as Duelia and Mint winning Area Cup 37, a duo that does not even involve a splash. But it's more than clear that the new options to the game are definitely giving V-Splash more competition than it's had in a while, and that's not even talking about the crab nerf that happened in the same patch. Safe to say, support is broadly opened up, even if we're narrow about which ones are actually good. Next up, let's talk about special weapons. The balance of them has certainly improved from last time. Crab's been toned back, Booyah is now a staple option, and Zuka no longer has that giant outside hitbox. Other weaker specials are also noticeably stronger, like Reef Slider and Ultra Stamp, and others have benefited from being on new, more powerful options, such as Inkjet on L3 and Bow, or especially missiles being on the new Splattershot Pro. The special variety at the top end is very good, and even outside of the top end of specials, I wouldn't say any of them are unviable. Even the weakest ones see use, like Vacuum and Rainmaker, or Screen for Sharking comps like with Roller or the new Tri-Slosher. I don't think there's any totally awful special design here either. The worst defenders like Whale and Missile feel amply toned back. I'd say the worst defender is probably Tri-Strike spam ability and Zone Cheese potential, with that mode being the most common, but I could see it being easily toned back in the future. However, special output is a bit more of an issue with third kits, with the most notable example being the new mini Splatling, playing for heavy Zuka spam at 190p and better painting than shot. I'd also critique the new sword here for this though, as personally I think the vanilla kit's higher difficulty shouldn't be outpaced by a weapon with a cheaper and easier special at the same time. There are definitely more choices introduced here that encourage high special output, and I do think that's the biggest flaw of the new weapons. There's going to be a little bit more special spam overall compared to the previous good comps, but I think the new patch can act on this fast with some points for special increases, and I don't see it being a major issue. Fighting weapons are still very important. Finally, I want to briefly talk about my theory that some of these weapons were for the comp scene. I just don't think it's a coincidence that we get a new sword with a Booyah Bomb, the best main weapon to fight Crab, right as the special is being buffed to be a good Crab counter, nor that Rapid, the best threat to Pencil, happens to get a Tacticooler. Personally, I could see some of these kits being picked out to try to solve for things such as Crab being such a dominant support and Pencil as the main cooler weapon. It's just a theory that I don't have a whole lot to go off of, but I think it's interesting to think about. To conclude here, I think that 10.0 gives the multiplayer a boost it really needed. The options for mains, subs, and specials felt too limited, and the stages needed more work, and this update and possibly future ones certainly help with that. For a while, and in that old video, I thought that Splatoon 3 would never reach its full potential, but now I can't help but think otherwise. The balance of the metagame just continues to go up, and now finally has the amount of choices available to make more interesting options and combinations possible. Did Splatoon 3 need them to be a good game? Well, no, but I also can't wait to see more of what this update has to offer. Thanks for watching.